Hi guys, I wanted to take a little bit of time and explain my investing story and just kind of the timelines of what happened and how I became a real estate investor. If you watch my previous video about my background, or the backstory I should say, you will see that I loved real estate since I was a kid. My uncles talked about it and I was hooked from that moment on. So in 2006, 2007, I bought my first rental property. The worst time you can ever buy a rental property in the history of the country. Definitely in our lifetime, we won't see another thing downturn into that like we did in 2008 with the real estate market due to the subprime loans. But at the time, I didn't know. I was a brand new investor. I've been waiting in the sidelines for years and years and years, and I think I was 27 years old at the time, and bought the first rental property. And quickly after that, we went into the economic downturn, which was, again, the Great Depression, the worst time you can ever buy real estate, and the worst depression that we would ever see in our entire lifetimes, recession, depression, however you want to phrase it. So that rental taught me more than any other property I've ever owned in my entire life up into this point, which I've probably owned somewhere around 100 properties, bought and sold different properties since then. So in that time, I learned what it's like to find tenants in a downward market. I learned how to stabilize a property, what repairs needed to be made to the property in order to keep the tenant from turning over. And then I also learned how to cash flow in a down market, again, the worst market you can ever have, as well as turning over tenants when we did and how to find new tenants and qualify them. I learned so much because I couldn't afford a property manager at the time, and I got so much hands-on experience over, it was a 7-year period that we owned that property before we wound up selling it. So fantastic property. After that, I went into the industry super educated. I was so confident with everything that I knew and I had learned over that time period, and started buying lots of properties once we got to Florida. So I started doing flips, buying rental properties, and really grew my business very quickly as an investor. That's a little bit of the background on how I got into the industry. Since then, I have done dozens and dozens of flips. I don't know how many at this point. I've owned lots of properties. I own a commercial property right now. I own multifamily properties also. So super experienced in that realm. I understand as an investor what you're looking for as an investor. Not my decision to make, but I give you the information. You're the adult, you're the investor, and sometimes you have different guidelines and accomplishments that you're trying to have, as opposed to me. I always offer every deal that I get, anything that's out there, to at least one of my investors, if not all of them. And when they decide that they are not interested in that, that's usually when I wind up buying a property. I'm good with buying almost any property. A lot of my investors either want turnkey, or they don't want something that needs too much work or not a whole lot of capital outlay. A lot of them need to get loans, and that significantly lowers which properties that they can actually invest in, because you can't get a loan if you can't get insurance. If you can't get insurance because it needs a new roof, then you're not buying the property. So I have to go in with cash a lot of the time. So what I do as far as my investing philosophy is exactly that. What I typically do is I will go and find a property that is undervalued because it needs work to the property, needs a full gut, it needs a roof, whatever it might need. I have one right now that we're under contract. It needs roof repair. The water system is completely destroyed, and the pool is a disaster. So you can't really buy that with a loan unless it's a private loan. So I went in with cash, buy it undervalued. I will put money into that property, and then after 6 months, I will go ahead and refi that property and pull the majority of my funds out. Because it's only 6 months, I can't always get all of the money out, but I can get the majority of it, and then I go ahead and I go into another property at that point. And that's exactly what I do. That's what I continue to do. And then that property will typically cash flow. I shouldn't say it will typically cash flow. I always make sure my properties cash flow no matter what. If there is a downturn, the property should still cash flow because I leave enough equity in the property. I don't take out a large enough loan so that it would affect cash flow if anything adverse had happened. So I do that again and again and again. And that's exactly what I do every time, all the time. I personally don't buy turnkey properties. If it doesn't need work, I typically don't want it unless there's a significant decrease in value due to the owner having to get out of the property because they're in foreclosure or whatever their circumstance might be. So that's the only time I buy. I only buy undervalued properties personally. So that's a little bit about what I do. That's my forte. I grew up on job sites with my dad. He's a master carpenter. So in many contracting businesses, I worked on the weekends, during summers, on school vacations, working as a helper, really. I am not a qualified carpenter. I'm not an expert, but I know a lot, and I know about numbers, and I know how to work with contractors. So flipping or buying undervalued properties that are going to need work is my forte. I know exactly what to do. I know how to discuss things with contractors. I know what prices should be. So that's how I've been successful in my industry. Anyway, if you guys need any help or you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My phone number is 239-220-0735. Thanks so much and have a great day.